Two True Little Caesars, Pizza Horror Stories, Story 1, The Delivery Part 1. My name is Marcos, and I was 23 years old when this happened. I worked as a delivery driver for Little Caesars in Bakersfield, California. It was a Friday night, 11:20 p.m., and I was making my last delivery of the shift. The address was on the outskirts of town, down a long dirt road that my GPS could barely find. When I finally reached the house, every instinct in my body told me to turn around. The porch light was off, the windows were dark. But there was a figure standing in the doorway, just a silhouette, watching me pull up. I should have driven away right then. Before I continue, hit that subscribe button and leave a comment below. Because what happened at that house still haunts me to this day. Part 2. I had been delivering pizzas for about 8 months. It was not my dream job, but it paid the bills while I figured out what I wanted to do with my life. The Little Caesars I worked at was in a busy part of town near the highway, and we stayed open until midnight on weekends. Most deliveries were routine: apartments, houses, college dorms. Hand over the pizza, collect the money, or confirm the online payment, move on to the next one. Easy. Friday nights were always busy. By 11 p.m., I had already made a dozen deliveries and was ready to clock out. Then my manager, a guy named Hector, called me over. "One more, Marcus, just came in, online order already paid." I looked at the address. It was way out on the edge of our delivery zone, almost past it. Rural area farms and empty fields. I had never delivered out there before. "That is pretty far," I said. "Are you sure it is in our zone?" Hector shrugged. "System accepted it. Customer tipped $20 online. Should be easy money." $20 was a good tip. More than I usually got. I grabbed the pizza and headed out. The drive took about 25 minutes. The roads got darker and narrower the further I went from town. Streetlights disappeared. Houses became fewer and farther between. My headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating nothing but empty fields and the occasional rusted mailbox. My GPS led me to a dirt road that branched off the main highway. No street sign, no house numbers visible, just a narrow path disappearing into the darkness. I should have turned around, but the $20 tip was already in my account, and I did not want to deal with the hassle of a failed delivery. I drove slowly down the dirt road, my car bouncing over potholes and rocks. Part 3. The house appeared suddenly emerging from the darkness like something out of a nightmare. It was old, maybe built in the 50s or 60s, with peeling paint and a sagging roof. No lights inside, no cars in the driveway, just a dark, silent structure at the end of a long dirt road. But the porch light was off, and that was my first warning sign. Most customers turn on their porch light when they are expecting a delivery. It is common courtesy. This house was completely dark, like no one was home. I pulled into the driveway and checked the address on my phone. This was the right place. I grabbed the pizza and got out of the car. The night was quiet. Too quiet. No crickets, no wind, no distant traffic. Just silence. As I walked toward the porch, I saw movement in the doorway. A figure standing just inside the screen door. I could not see any features, just a silhouette against the darkness. "Little Caesars," I called out, holding up the pizza. "I have your order." The figure did not move, did not respond. I stopped about 10 feet from the porch. Something felt wrong. Every instinct in my body was screaming at me to leave. "Hello, I have your pizza." The order is already paid online. Silence. The figure just stood there watching me. Then a voice low and raspy came from the doorway. Bring it inside. Part 4. I took a step back. I am sorry, sir. I cannot come inside. Company policy. I can leave the pizza on the porch if you want. The figure moved, then pushing open the screen door. In the faint light from my car's headlights, I could see him more clearly now. He was a big man, tall and heavyset, wearing a stained white t-shirt and jeans. His face was partially hidden in shadow, but I could see his eyes. They were fixed on me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. I said, bring it inside. His voice was harder now, not a request, a command. Sir, I really cannot do that. I'm just going to leave it here on the steps, okay? Have a good night. I bent down to set the pizza on the porch. That is when I saw the second figure. Someone was standing at the corner of the house, just barely visible in the shadows. Watching. Waiting. I straightened up slowly, my heart pounding. 2 of them. There were 2 of them. I need to get going, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Enjoy your pizza. I turned and walked back toward my car. Not running, not yet, but walking fast. Behind me, I heard the screen door bang open, heavy footsteps on the wooden porch. Where do you think you're going? I broke into a run. Part 5. I made it to my car and yanked open the door. I could hear footsteps behind me getting closer. I threw myself inside and hit the lock button. Through the window, I saw the big man from the porch running toward me, and the second figure was coming around the other side of the car. I fumbled with my keys, trying to get them in the ignition. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped them. A fist slammed against my window. I looked up and saw the big man's face pressed against the glass. He was smiling now, a terrible smile that showed too many teeth. Open the door, he said. We just want to talk. I found my keys and jammed them into the ignition. The engine roared to life. The second figure appeared at my passenger window. Younger than the first one, maybe my age, but with the same cold eyes. He was holding something in his hand. It took me a second to realize it was a hammer. He swung it at the window. I threw the car into reverse and floored the accelerator. The tires spun on the dirt, then caught. The car lurched backward, throwing off the man at my door. The hammer hit my passenger window, but did not break through. Cracks spiderwebbed across the glass. I spun the wheel, turning the car around, and shifted into drive. I could see them in my rearview mirror, both of them running after me. But I was faster. I did not slow down until I hit the main highway. Part 6. I drove straight to the police station, my hands still shaking, my mind racing. I told them everything. The address, the house, the 2 men. The officer who took my statement looked concerned. You said the order was placed online, he asked. Yeah, paid in advance $20 tip. He typed something into his computer, then frowned. The address you gave me does not exist. There is no house on that road. I was just there. I saw it. I saw them. The officer shook his head slowly. That road dead ends about a 1/4 mile in. There is nothing out there but fields. I pulled up my delivery app and showed him the order. The address was there, clear as day. But when he tried to look it up in the county records, nothing came up. Someone spoofed the address, he said. Used your delivery app to send you to a specific location, a location they chose. It was a trap. The whole thing had been a trap. The police drove out to the location with me the next morning. We found tire tracks in the dirt footprints around where my car had been parked. But no house, just an empty field with a dirt road leading nowhere. They had set up a fake delivery, lured me to a remote location, and tried to ambush me. And when I escaped, they packed up and vanished. Part 7. The police investigated but never found the men. The online order had been placed with a prepaid card registered to a fake name. The email address was a dead end. They were ghosts. I quit my job at Little Caesars the next day. I could not do it anymore. Every time I looked at a delivery address, I wondered if it was real, if someone was waiting at the end of that road. My manager understood. He had heard about what happened. He told me I was not the first delivery driver to have a close call, but I was lucky to have gotten away. Not everyone does, he said. I started researching after that. Found stories online from other delivery drivers. Pizza guys, Chinese food, DoorDash. Stories about being lured to remote locations, being attacked, being robbed. Some of them did not end as well as mine. Part 8. It has been 2 years since that night. I work in an office now, 9 to 5, safe behind a desk. No more late-night drives to unknown addresses. No more dark roads and empty fields. But I still have nightmares. I dream about that house appearing out of the darkness, that figure in the doorway, that terrible smile pressed against my car window. And sometimes, when I am driving at night, I catch myself checking the rear view mirror, looking for headlights that stay too close for too long, looking for signs that someone is following. The police told me later that there had been a series of attacks on delivery drivers in rural areas across California that year. Robberies, assaults, worse. They never caught the people responsible. I think about that sometimes, about the 2 men who tried to trap me, about what they had planned. And I think about the $20 tip, the bait that almost got me killed. If you ever work a delivery job, please be careful. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. No tip is worth your life. And if an address leads you down a dark dirt road to a house with no lights on, turn around. Do not get out of your car. Just drive away and do not look back. Story 2. The Closer Part 1. My name is Devon, and I was 19 years old when this happened. I worked the closing shift at a Little Caesars in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was a Wednesday night, 11:50 p.m., and I was alone in the store finishing my cleaning duties. My coworker had gone home sick an hour earlier, and my manager had left me to close by myself. That is when I noticed the car in the parking lot. It had been there since we closed at 11, just sitting there, engine off, no lights on. And I could see someone in the driver's seat watching the store. Watching me. If you work late nights, you need to hear this story. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell, because what happened next could happen to anyone. Part 2. I had been working at that Little Caesars for about 6 months. It was my first job out of high school. Something to keep me busy while I saved money for college. The pay was not great, but the work was easy enough, and most of my co-workers were cool. The closing shift was not my favorite. We closed at 11 on weeknights, and it usually took another hour to clean everything up. Scrub the prep stations, mop the floors, take out the trash count, the register. By the time I clocked out, it was usually past midnight. That Wednesday night, everything went wrong from the start. First, the dinner rush was brutal. We were understaffed, and the orders kept coming in. By 9 p.m. I was exhausted, and we still had 2 hours until close. Then my coworker, a guy named Terrell, started looking pale. By 10, he was in the bathroom throwing up. Food poisoning or a stomach bug, he said. He needed to go home. My manager Linda told him to leave. She said she would help me close. But then her kid called from home with some emergency and she had to go too. "You can handle it, right, Devon?" she asked, already grabbing her purse. "Just follow the checklist. Lock up when you are done." I wanted to say no. I wanted to tell her I did not feel comfortable closing alone. But I was 19 and did not want to seem like I could not handle responsibility. "Yeah, I got it," I said. She left at 10:30. I was alone. Part 3. The last hour before close was slow. A few customers trickled in, but by 11 the parking lot was empty. I locked the front door and turned off the open sign. That is when I noticed the car. It was a dark sedan, parked at the far end of the lot, near the edge, where the parking lot lights did not quite reach. It had not been there earlier, I was sure of it. I would have noticed. I could not see the driver clearly, but I could tell someone was sitting in the front seat. Just sitting there, not getting out, not driving away. I told myself it was probably nothing. Maybe someone waiting to pick up a friend from the bar down the street. Maybe someone on a phone call. There were innocent explanations, but something about it made me uneasy. I went back to my closing duties, trying to ignore the car. I cleaned the prep stations, wiped down the counters, started mopping the floor. Every few minutes I glanced out the window. The car was still there. By 11:30, I was getting nervous. The car had been there for half an hour. No one had gotten out. No one had driven away. I pulled out my phone and thought about calling Linda. But what would I say? There's a car in the parking lot. She would think I was being paranoid. I kept working. But I kept watching. Part 4. At 11:45, the car's headlights turned on. I stopped mopping and watched. The car pulled slowly out of its parking spot and drove toward the store. It circled the parking lot twice, then pulled into a spot right in front of the entrance. The headlights turned off. The engine stayed running. I could see the driver now illuminated by the glow of the instrument panel. A man, maybe in his 30s, with a shaved head. He was staring at the store, staring at me. I backed away from the window, my heart pounding. Something was very wrong. I grabbed my phone and called Linda. It rang 3 times before she answered. "Devon, is everything okay?" "There's a guy in the parking lot. He's been sitting out there for almost an hour, and now he pulled up right in front of the store. He is just staring at me." Linda was quiet for a moment. "Are the doors locked?" "The front door is. I haven't done the back yet." "Go lock the back door, now. I am calling the police." I moved quickly through the kitchen toward the back of the store. The back door led to a small alley where we kept the dumpsters. It was supposed to be locked at all times when not in use, but sometimes we propped it open during busy shifts to take out trash. It was not propped open now, but when I grabbed the handle, it turned freely. The door was unlocked. Part 5. I pushed the door closed and turned the deadbolt. My hands were shaking. I looked out the small window in the door. The alley was dark lit, only by a single security light mounted on the wall. I could see the dumpsters, the recycling bin shadows stretching across the concrete. And then I saw movement. Someone was standing in the alley just outside the circle of light. A figure in dark clothes facing the door. Facing me. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over a stack of pizza boxes. There were two of them. One in the car out front. One in the alley out back. I was surrounded. I ran back to the front of the store, staying low, trying to keep out of sight of the windows. I found a spot behind the counter where I could see both the front door and the entrance to the kitchen. Through the front window, I could see the man in the car. He had gotten out now and was walking toward the entrance. He tried the door. It was locked. He knocked on the glass. Slow, deliberate knocks. "We are closed," I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. He smiled. "I know." He knocked again, harder this time. "Open the door, Devon." He knew my name. I was wearing my name tag. He had been watching long enough to read my name tag through the window. Part 6. I crouched behind the counter, my phone pressed to my ear. Linda had patched me through to the police, and a dispatcher was on the line telling me to stay calm, telling me help was on the way. The knocking stopped. I heard footsteps, then silence. I peeked over the counter. The man was gone from the front door. But where? Then I heard it. A sound from the back of the store. From the kitchen. The back door. I heard the handle rattle. Then a bang, like someone throwing their weight against the door. The deadbolt held, but the door shuddered in its frame. "There is someone trying to break in through the back," I told the dispatcher. "Please hurry." Another bang. The door frame cracked. I looked around desperately for a weapon. There was a fire extinguisher mounted on the wall. I grabbed it, holding it like a club. A third bang. The deadbolt tore through the frame and the door flew open. The man from the alley stood in the doorway. He was bigger than I expected, muscular, with a face that showed no emotion at all. He saw me behind the counter and started walking toward me. I raised the fire extinguisher. "Stay back. The police are on their way." He did not stop. I squeezed the trigger on the extinguisher and sprayed him directly in the face. White foam exploded outward, covering his eyes and mouth. He stumbled backward, coughing, clawing at his face. I ran for the front door. I unlocked it with fumbling hands and burst out into the parking lot. The man from the car was there, coming around the corner of the building. He saw me and started running. But I could see lights now, red and blue lights coming down the street. The police. The man stopped. He looked at the approaching police cars, then at me. For a moment I thought he was going to keep coming anyway. Then he turned and ran. Both of them did, disappearing into the darkness behind the strip mall. Part 7. The police searched the area, but did not find them. They had vanished into the night. One of the officers took my statement, while another checked the store. The back door was destroyed, the frame splintered where they had forced it open. A few more seconds, and they would have been inside. "You are lucky," the officer said. "That fire extinguisher probably saved your life." I did not feel lucky. I felt sick. The police found a few things in the alley. A backpack with zip ties, duct tape, and a hunting knife. They had come prepared. "This was not random," the officer told me. "They were watching the store, waiting for you to be alone. They had a plan." I thought about all the nights I had closed alone, all the times I had taken out the trash without looking around, without paying attention. How many times had someone been watching Part 8? They caught one of them 3 weeks later. He He tried the same thing at a Domino's across town, but the employee there had a concealed carry permit. When the man broke through the back door, he found himself staring down the barrel of a 9mm. His name was Carl Eugene Bowman, 34 years old, a record of assault robbery and worse. When the police searched his home, they found photographs of fast food restaurants, notes on closing procedures, maps of employee parking lots. He had been hunting delivery workers and closing shift employees for months. The second man was never found. I quit Little Caesars the day after the incident. I could not go back there. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that door flying open, that emotionless face coming toward me. I work at a gym now. Day shifts only always with other people around. I never work alone. I never close. And every time I see a car sitting in a parking lot a little too long, every time I hear footsteps behind me in an empty hallway, I remember that night. I remember how close I came. Linda told me later that she felt guilty. She should not have left me alone, she said. Company policy was always 2 people on closing shift minimum. She had broken the rules, and I had almost paid the price. But I do not blame her. I blame the men who came to that store with zip ties and knives. I blame the predators who watch and wait and hunt. If you work a closing shift anywhere, please be careful. Lock the doors. Check the parking lot. Do not let anyone pressure you into working alone. Because there are people out there who are watching, who are waiting for the moment when you are vulnerable. And they do not care about your name or your story or your dreams. They only care that you are alone.